Welcome everyone to CA Sansaar's YouTube channel. Thanks CA Vivek Khurana ji for giving me the opportunity to present on two important amendments in the budget 2022. I am CA Karan Panjwani. I am a CA from Agra. I am DISA qualified and I also have a forensic auditing degree, and I am also a qualified certified concurrent bank auditor uh, with the ICA. So the two important topics that I am going to discuss today are virtual digital asset and updated return. So virtual digital asset, or you might call it cryptocurrency, has been a very hot topic since its advent. It came about 10 years ago, but it's still been a very hot topic of discussion. And for the past 2 years, the budget was supposed to include something about virtual digital assets, and has this year included it in the budget and taxation wise. So let's go ahead and see what kind of amendments have we brought about. So the virtual digital asset have been in a way legally identified in the budget under section 247A. So the definition goes like this: that any information, code, number, or token which is not a currency. So the currency definition would be borrowed from FEMA Act, which is not a currency, which can be made cryptographically, and which can also be made otherwise, not cryptographically, which has a digital value, an inherent value, has a store of value which can be transferred, stored, or traded electronically, either with or without consideration. So the most important thing to note over here is if it is made cryptographically, or if it is not made cryptographically, then also it is included. The second part of the definition is it includes non-fungible tokens. So what is a non-fungible token? A non-fungible token is something which is not substitutable, which is not divisible, and which is a unique digital asset. So NFTs, mostly हमने जो NFTs सुने हैं, NFTs के बारे में सुना है, those are the image form of NFTs that are uh, after Bitcoin, Ethereum coins, and all those coins. These things have now come into vogue. So some other form of digital currencies that are coming nowadays are uh, most of us have heard about the Meta Facebook group has now started selling digital real estate. So digital real estate will also come into this domain. But what happened with this definition was this definition has been made so wide that it includes certain other assets that might create a very big confusion. So in the past few days, there was a discussion with the stakeholders, and there might be a tweaking in the definition to exclude certain assets. Certain assets like cashback points. Cashback points can also be included because they are in a way an information which has a digital value. Frequent flyer miles, those may also be included over here. And in a way, RBI is also planning to introduce a digital currency in the coming years. So that has also to be excluded out of the domain of this virtual digital asset. And the government has also, under C point, the power to notify certain other assets that they might deem necessary to be called virtual digital asset. So the virtual digital asset taxation scheme comes under section 115 BBH. गवर्नमेंट ने डिसाइड किया है कि वर्चुअल डिजिटल एसेट्स को दे विल टैक्स एट 30%. These income will be reported under capital gains or may be reported under income from other sources. So ये decide होगा once the income tax forms are come about, and उसमें पता चलेगा whichever head. Most likely this is going to be reported under income other sources, because capital gain में detailed information मांगना would be very difficult in the first year. Uh, Gifting of virtual digital asset will be coming under income from other sources. So the recipient of the gift would be taxing this, would be taxable, would have this income taxable under income from other sources. No set off will be available for the losses of virtual digital asset against income under any provision of this act. So virtual digital asset loss will not be allowed to be set off against any other income under the provision of this act. This is a very important fact. The losses from virtual digital asset cannot be carried forward to the next year. Losses भी carry forward नहीं मिलेंगे, income भी set off नहीं होगी, losses भी carry forward नहीं मिलेंगे. And the expenses allowed, only expense allowed will be the cost of acquisition. Only the cost of acquisition will be allowed in this case. And the benefit of basic exemption will also not be allowed. तो आपका टैक्स विल स्टार्ट फ्रॉम 1 रुपी. अगर आपको 50,000 बिटकॉइन पे इनकम होती है, देन 50,000 विल बी टैक्सेबल एट 30%. 15,000 you'll have to pay taxes. 2.5 lakh से, for instance, for an individual, if income कम होती है, then also you'll be paying taxes. 15,000 plus cess, of course. So these provisions will become applicable starting 1st April 2022. Another important provision that was introduced this year with regards to Bitcoin was 194S, the TDS provisions. So the TDS would be at the rate 1% of the consideration, and certain leniencies have been given. For instance, TAN number requirement नहीं होगा TDS deduct करने के लिए. You can deduct TDS without a TAN number also. And जो double deduction होता है 206A में non filers के case में, that is also not applicable over here. But you see the logistical issue that will be here. कि a person, see, the TDS is on consideration, so the person who is even having a loss, see, मैंने अगर 21 लाख का बिटकॉइन बेचा 12 लाख में and I am having a 9 lakh loss, then also मेरा TDS कटेगा 12 लाख की सेल पे 12,000 रुपीज. सो 12,000 रुपीज मेरे पॉकेट पे एडिशनल लॉस के अलावा एक बर्डन है, which of course I will be refunded to me, but still it is a burden. So लॉजिस्टिकली थोड़ा डिफिकल्ट होगा. टीडीएस के लिए स्पेसिफाइड पर्सन है जिन पे टीडीएस एप्लीकेबल होता है. फॉर इंस्टेंस बायर्स जो कि इंडिविजुअल्स हैं या एचयूएफ हैं, दे विल बी रिक्वायर्ड टू डिडक्ट टीडीएस जहां पे 50,000 से एक्सीड होता है सम. In case of those individuals who are doing business and their turnover is greater than 1 CR, or professionals जिनके professional receipts are greater than 50 lakh. In all other cases, TDS will be applicable for more than 10,000 rupees. So gifts are also taxable. The person who will be receiving the gift. So how they are taxable? They have now been included in the definition of properties under section 56 2x. So now gifts will also be considered property, and if they are received without consideration from an unrelated party or for a consideration less than the specified value, which is 50,000, then they shall be chargeable tax. And the most important thing to note under this section is, if you received even a penny greater than 50,000, if you receive, for instance, you receive 60,000 rupees, so the whole amount of 60,000 would be chargeable, not the 50,000, not the amount exceeding 50,000, but the whole 60,000 will be chargeable to tax. So you have to note that point also. Some important issues that came into discussion, because some of the points need a little more clarity. I have put these points over here. Virtual digital asset transaction during there will be cumulatively treated as income. So I had earlier mentioned that losses from virtual digital asset will not be allowed to be set off against any other income from the under the provisions of the act. But of course, the income would be reported on a net basis. So the profits of virtual digital asset and the losses of virtual digital asset income would be allowed to be set off. The second important point is the consideration can be in cash, it can be in kind, and it can also be exchange of one virtual digital asset for another virtual digital asset. So अगर आप बिटकॉइन बेच के इथीरियम खरीदते हैं, that is also a consideration and that is also a transfer in the eyes of the law, और वहां पे भी taxability का इवेंट हो जाएगा. अच्छा, does taxation means legalization? नहीं. Bitcoin taxation जो है does not mean it will become legalized. आपको वेट करना पड़ेगा. क्रिप्टो करेंसी बिल जब टेबल होता है पार्लियामेंट में, देन लीगैलिटी इशू पे डिस्कशन होगा एंड मे बी इट कैन गो आइदर वे. Another important issue that is not mentioned over here is that Bitcoin, when you sell a Bitcoin, there is a specific commission that a Bitcoin aggregator charge 0.1% or 0.3%. Every Bitcoin aggregator charge certain commission on that. So will that be allowed to be deducted? See, a general definition of consideration should allow that deduction, but that point is still not clear. Consideration should exclude the brokerage that is paid at the time of selling the Bitcoin, but that has to be seen once the clarification is received from the government. Um, See, to end this topic, I would give a short note on Bitcoin. So, Bitcoins basically is a decentralized currency, but of course, the central government, any country's government would not give it more power over their own currency. Bitcoin as an investing tool is very volatile. We have seen that Bitcoins fall up to 6%, 8% in a day, and more so 20 to 30% in a week's time. So it is a very volatile tool as far as investing is concerned, and now it has become taxable also. So we'll have to advise our clients accordingly. If they are wanting to invest in Bitcoins, we'll even have to tell them tax angles also. So going forward, the advisory will be very interesting under Bitcoin head. I'll move on to the next topic, which is updated return. So the budget 2022 has also introduced a new thing, which is the updated return. Under section 139.8a, now the budget will see in the memorandum of budget, it has been stated that this section was introduced because there is some incomes because of haphazardness in filing of return and hush in the filing of return, certain incomes miss getting filed or miss getting reported. So in those cases, assessees will be given an option to introduce those income via an updated return. So the provisions allow you to file an updated return within 24 months from the end of the relevant assessment year. In addition to the revision of return, in addition to the rectification return, you will now getting another option, which is the updated return, which can be filed 24 months from the end of the relevant assessment. But what are the condition? Section 140B says that there has to be a proof of payment of taxes. So what are the taxes to be paid? The taxes to be paid is the tax on additional income. In addition to that, you will have to pay an additional tax. So additional tax will be in cases where the return, updated return is filed within 12 months from the end of the relevant assessment year, there will be a 25% additional tax of the aggregate tax and interest payable. And in cases when you miss the 12-month mark, you will have to pay a 50% of the aggregate tax and interest payable as additional tax. Also, an important thing that to be noted over here, in some cases, in this is a very new thing that updated return can be filed even in cases where no return has been filed yet. So updated return can be filed in those cases also, but they have said that fees payable under any provisions of the act for any delay in furnishing of return will also be payable in this case. So the late fees under 234F for delayed filing of return will be applicable over here if in the case you have not earlier filed a return and you are now filing an updated return. And of course, the benefits of advanced tax, the benefit of TDS, TCS relief under Section 89, Section 90, 91 will also be available to you uh, when you're calculating the tax liability while filing an updated return. So in certain cases, the updated return will not be allowed to be filed. These are the provisos to Section 139.8a, which is the updated return. In certain cases, you will not be allowed to file an updated return. What are these cases? Uh, Updated return cannot be filed in a case where the return is a return of loss. Updated return will not be allowed in case where your total tax liability declared earlier gets reduced. In those cases, updated return cannot be filed. If the updated return results in a refund or increases the refund which has been earlier filed, so in those cases also updated return cannot be filed. There are certain persons who are ineligible to file updated return for that particular assessment year and the two assessment years preceding that assessment year. So in case where search under section 132 or books of accounts or assets have been requisitioned in section 132A or a survey is being conducted in the section 133A, in case of such person, he is not eligible to file an updated return. Similarly, a person whose asset have been seized under any of the provisions of these above mentioned three sections will not be allowed to file an updated return. And a person with regards to whom information contained in the books document seized has been obtained, and in both the cases, in both the cases of the person whose assets have been seized and in the case of person whose information has been received, a notice has been sent to them that these assets have been received. These people cannot file an updated return for the relevant assessment year and two years preceding the relevant assessment year. Another case, which is proviso 3, where updated return cannot be filed for a relevant assessment year is when an updated return has already been filed. So you cannot file an updated return for an assessment year twice. Once it has been filed, it's done. Second, there is a proceeding for assessment, reassessment, recomputation, or revision of income under the Act is pending. If you have made any assessment reassessment request, or reassessment is being done by the authorities, or there is a revision of income that is being done by you, then if that is pending, then you cannot file updated return until that proceeding is concluded. Assessing officer has communicated to you that there is a possession of property under Smugglers and Foreign Exchange Manipulators Act, Prohibition of Benami Property Transactions Act, Prevention of Money Laundering Act, or Black Money Act, or the full name of the act is Black Money, Undisclosed Foreign Income and Assets, and Imposition of Tax Act 2015. And in cases where Section 90 and 90A information is received, which is double tax avoidance agreement information. So in those cases also, you will not be allowed to file the updated return. So most of the clarity with regards to information provided is there. But one question that arose with regards to discussion of this is, can we file a nil return? Because one of the section here prescribes that there has to be a proof of payment, then only you will be able to file an updated return. So will updated return be allowed to be filed in cases where there is no proof of payment, or where there is no tax payment at all? Will a nil return be allowed to be filed as an updated return? So that is something that needs clarity. So what I would suggest to you is, um, first of all, thanks to Vivek Khurana ji for allowing me the time to give this small presentation on these two important legislation that have come about. And thank you all. And I would also like to tell you to like and subscribe to this channel, because this channel keeps on putting very informative content for us professionals and all other viewers as well, to enjoy and enrich our knowledge. I would like to thank you all. And for any queries, I have given my mail ID, as well as, just a second, this is my mail ID, Panjwani Karan, CIRC, Agra @gmail.com. And I also given my contact number. In case of any queries, please bring them in, because there is a lot of discussion to be held on these two important topics. And I think going forward, these queries will help us be the stakeholders in this issue, and maybe bring this to the notice of the government as well. So please keep bringing in the queries, and do like and subscribe the channel. Thank you.